principles to develop RESTful services for building B2B communication based applications. What are those principles? First one is unique addressability. First one is unique addressability, and the second one is uniform constraint interfaces. Uniform constraint interfaces. Uniform constraint interfaces. Third one is message oriented representation, that is media representation. Message oriented representation. Fourth one, communication stateless. Fourth one is communication stateless. And fifth one is heteros. Unique addressability, uniform constraint interfaces, message oriented representation, and communication stateless. And the fifth one is heteros. Are you guys able to understand? Right. REST stands for Representational State Transfer. Roy Fielding provided REST architecture principles to develop RESTful services for building B2B communication based applications. What are the principles that we are following to build the RESTful services? Unique addressability, uniform constraint interfaces, message oriented representation, communication stateless, and heteros. Very good. Now guys, we discussed about so many topics in the RESTful services. Okay, good. Unique addressability means every endpoint method should be binded to unique address. Uniform constraint means all your methods should be binded to HTTP protocol methods only. Message oriented representation means as per client requirement, our REST APIs should perform the response, should take the input and the output based on the client requested format. It should support for multiple formats of the data. Communication stateless means client's information should not be stored at the REST API. Every client request should be treated as a first request only. Every request should be treated as a first request only. That is called as communication stateless. Heteros means REST API should provide the response to the clients. REST API should provide the response to the clients. REST API should provide the response to the clients in hypermedia format. Got my point? Very good. All of you clear with this one? Principles? All of you clear with these principles? Good. Now, guys, before moving into client development, REST clients development, let us understand some concepts related to HTTP status codes. We already know about HTTP status codes. Okay? HTTP status codes. In HTTP protocol, we have status codes. Those status codes are used to represent how the request processed. These HTTP status codes are used to HTTP status codes HTTP status codes. HTTP status codes are used to represent how server processed the client request. HTTP status codes are used to represent how server processed the client request. HTTP status codes are used to represent how server processed the client request. Okay, there are several status codes we have. One is 1xx, 1xx, 1xx. These are representing information, and 2xx. These are representing success, and 3xx. These are representing redirect, and 4xx. These are represent client error, and 5xx representing server error. Got my point? Now this already we have discussed in the initial classes of the RESTful services. That's not an issue. HTTP status codes are used to represent how server processed the client request. These things already I have discussed in the initial classes of the RESTful services. But sir, why again same concept you are repeating? I'm not repeating the same concept. I'm going in depth into that concept now. Here, not only these things guys, interviewer will ask you some questions related to what is 200, 200, what is 201, what is 204, what is 400, what is 401, what is 405, what is 415. These kind of questions they are going to ask you in the interview. These are the questions they are going to ask in the interview. When you will get the 400 status code? When you will get the 400 status code? When you will get the 401? When you will get the 405? When you will get the 415? When you will get the 204? These status codes also we have to understand. Okay. Now let's see here. HTTP status codes. HTTP status code. We know high level. At that time we discussed about the high level status codes. Now we need to know some other status codes also which we are going to use frequently. Now see here, 100 means continue, 101 means switching protocol, 102 means processing, 103 means early hints. Now coming to 200, there are some status codes are available. Oh my god, there are so many status codes that they have given. Let me go to some other screen where they will display some frequently used HTTP status codes. Some frequently used HTTP status codes. Let me go back to here. HTTP status codes. There are so many status codes that they are giving. Now you see, they have given some star guys. They have given some star. The star means representing what? They are important. Frequently used status codes. Okay. Now from 1xx, is there anything which is important for us? From 1xx, is there any important thing status code for us? No important status code for us. From 2xx, star is there for whom? 200, 201, 204. Okay, 200 means what? Okay. Client sent the request, server processed that request and sent the response. That means it is okay. 200. It means okay. 200. Means okay. 201 means 201 means created. Whenever we send a post request, server will create the resource and will send the response. Then we got the 201. 201 is created. Then next we will go for 204. 204 means don't know. 204 means don't know. No content. Nothing. client sent the request, server processed it, server sent the response, but there is no response to send. There is no response to send. Client has sent a request. Client sent a request to the server. Server processed it, but server doesn't have anything to send. Then it is going to send a response status code as a 204. No content. Okay. Here. Now, when we go to this properties, let's come here. In the one category, no important status codes. In one category, do we have any important status codes? No important status codes. In a two category, we have 2xx. In 2xx category, we have 200 means okay. 200 means okay. 201 means created. 201 means created. For post request, we will use 201 status code. Request processed successfully, but there is nothing to send to the client. No content available. No response to send. Just request process. That's it. There is nothing to send. That means 204, no content. 200 okay. 201 created. 204, no content. These status codes are important from 2xx category. Okay, coming to 3xx, not modified. 3xx is nothing but redirection. It is not modified. 3xx. From 3xx category, we are getting 304 not modified. We are getting 304 not modified. Coming to 4xx, guys, there are some important status codes that we need to remember. 400, that is a bad request. That means the client is sending a request to the server, which is a bad request. From 4xx category, we need to understand important status codes. Bad request. 401 unauthorized. 402 payment required. 403 forbidden. You cannot access that. Your request cannot be accessed. Forbidden. 404 resource not found. Resource not found. Then 405 method not allowed. This is also we will get sometimes. Method not allowed. I will tell you when you will get all these errors. Method not allowed. 405 method not allowed. Not acceptable. Proxy authentication. Request timeout. Conflict. 409 conflict. 415 also we will get sometimes. That is unsupported media type. Unsupported media type. These are common status codes that we are going to get while working with REST APIs. Coming to 500, in the 500 there is one thing which is 500 internal server error. Whenever server is not able to process the request, then it will give 500 status code. 500 means server is an internal error, internal server error. Okay, now let's see when we are going to get these status codes practically. Let me take one REST API and let me show you. First one, 1xx. There is no that much important status code that we need to remember. Just remember that 1xx means this is informational. 1xx means that is informational. Okay. Next one, 2xx status code. 2xx status codes. There are some important codes are available. 200 okay. 201 created. 204 no content. Then come to 3xx category. 304 that is not modified. 3xx status code, that is 304 not modified. 5xx, that is 500 internal server error. Now coming to 4xx, there are so many important status codes are available in 4xx. Right? Bad request, unauthorized, payment required, forbidden, resource not found, method not allowed, conflict, unsupported media type. Unsupported media type. Got it? Got my point? You got my point, guys? First, let me show you some status codes. I will run the application and I will show you some status codes here. Close this. Let's go to one application. Let's say that our application is available. HETIOS application that we developed yesterday. Let me take this application, run as boot application, run as boot application, right click on this project, run as boot application. Run as boot application. Application started. Go to Postman. Go to Postman. Go to Postman. Good. Now observe guys, 1xx no issue at all. Now go to books one, where the books one is available. Yesterday we have sent it. Click on send. Are we able to get the response? What is the status code we are getting? 200. Okay, status code we are getting. Okay. 201 means post request. 204 means no content. 300 no problem at all. Now let's talk about 4xx status codes. Books API. I'm sending a request with the books API send. What is the status code I'm getting? 404. What is the meaning of 404? Resource not found. Whatever the request I'm sending with this URL pattern, there is no resource available at the server. If you are sending incorrect URL, if you are sending a request with the incorrect URL, then you will get the status code as a 404, which means resource not found. When you are sending a request with this incorrect URL, then you will get 404, resource not found. It is a server problem or it is a client problem? Server problem or client problem, guys? It is a client problem. It is a client problem. 404, client error, resource not found. Now tell me, books method is binded to what request, guys? In the REST API, if you go to the REST API, REST controller, can you see the REST controller method is binded to what type of request? What type of request? Get request. Okay, let me send a post request. Let me send a post request for the same URL. Click on send. What status code I am getting? REST API method is binded to get request, but I am sending a post request. What status code I will get now? 405, method not allowed. You see, is it important or not? 405, method not allowed. When you will get the 405? The REST API method is binded to, one HTTP method, but you are sending a different HTTP request. Then you are going to get as method not allowed. Method not allowed. So do you understand? When you will get 404 and 405? When you will get the 404 and 405? If you send a request with the incorrect URL, then you will get a 404. When you send a request with the incorrect HTTP method, then you will get 405. Then you will get the 405. Are you guys clear with this? Are you guys clear with this? Okay. Now one more status code, guys. What kind of response this method can produce for us? What kind of response this method can produce? What kind of response this method can produce? Only JSON response. This method can produce what format of data, guys? Only JSON. Okay. Now see, here client is expecting the data in JSON format. No problem. Get request, URL, accept JSON. Click on send. Now I got the data in JSON format. Now I got this data in the JSON format. Am I able to get the data in the JSON format? Am I able to get the data in the JSON format? Come on guys. Am I able to get the data in the JSON format? We are able to get the data in the JSON format. Now, can I expect the data in the XML format? Can I expect the data in the XML format? First of all, is that method supporting for XML data? Is that method supporting for XML data? No. Send the request. What we are getting? 406 not acceptable. 406, that is not acceptable. That is not important here, but we can say that we can get sometimes 406 not acceptable. That means whatever the response we are expecting, if the REST API method is not supporting for that response, then we will get 406 not acceptable. 406 not acceptable. Are you guys able to follow this? Are you guys able to follow this? Now, let's go to book ticket method. Let's go to book ticket method, IRCTC API. I will show you 415 error also. IRCTC API. IRCTC API, close unrelated projects. Let me stop this. 406, we got it. If we are expecting a response, if that response is not supporting by the REST API, then you will get 406, that is not acceptable. 406, that is not acceptable. Now let me show you 415. I am running IRCTC API, guys. Let's go for IRCTC API REST controller. For example, it is consuming only in the JSON format. It can consume the data only in the JSON format. Book ticket method can consume the data in which format? Only JSON. Only JSON it can consume. Now let me run this application. I have removed XML support, guys. I'm keeping only JSON format. In which format this REST API method can take the input? In which format this REST API method can take the input? Only JSON format. Consumes only JSON. If I give XML as a input, see here, body data, in which format I am giving the passenger data? XML. Send a request. What response we are getting? What status code we are getting? 415 in unsupported media type. 406, 415. If the data that client is sending, if REST API doesn't support for that data format, then you will get 415, which is unsupported media type. Guys, you understand the difference between 406 and 415? Understand the difference between 406 and 415? When you will get 406 and 415? 406. When you will get the 406? When you will get the 406? Not acceptable. 406, that is not acceptable. 406 is not acceptable. 415 is unsupported media type. These are important annotations. Sorry, not annotations. These are important status codes. The response format, the client is expecting one response format. Client is expecting one response format which is not supported by REST API, then we will get 406 status code. Client is expecting one response format which is not supported by REST API, then we will get 406 status code. Client is expecting JSON, but REST API doesn't support for the JSON, then you will get the 406 status code. When you will get the 450, that means accept header value not available in the produces attribute. Accept header value not matching with produces formats. Then you will get this problem. Client is accept header value. Client is sending a accept header value not matching with produces value. How client will tell that in which format client want response? Accept. I want JSON, but method cannot support for JSON. Method not producing the JSON. In that scenario, we will get the 406 status code. Client is expecting one response format which is not supported by REST API, then we will get the 406 status code. Accept header value not matching with the produces value, then you will get the 406. Now can you tell me when you will get 415? Can you tell me when you will get the 415? Unsupported media type. When you will get the unsupported media type? Content type not matching with the consumes. Client giving input data which is not supported by REST API, then you will get 415. Content type not matching with the consumes. Client given input data format not supported by REST API, then we will get 415 status code. Client given input data format not supported by REST API, then we will get 415 status code. What is the meaning of that? Content type header value not matching with consumes value. Guys, bit confusing. Content type header value not matching with consumes value. Then we will get this problem. Content type header value not matching with the consumes value, then we are going to get this 415 problem. Guys, these things I am covering for interview purpose. They may check your skill on the REST API by asking this question. Can you please tell me when you will get 404, 405, 406, 415, 500? भाई साहब questions पूछते हैं भाई. If you are saying you are experienced with REST API, then you should be very good on the HTTP protocol. You should be very good on the HTTP protocol. समझा? 401 means it's something like a validation. I don't want to process that client request. That client is not our business partner. Unauthorized client. Security. He don't have permission to access our API. When we are getting a request from the unauthorized clients, then we will send a request with the we will send the response with the 401 status code. Suppose client is sending incorrect data. Suppose for example, to book the passenger data, they are not sending Aadhaar card number in the request. They are sending Aadhaar card. They are not sending Aadhaar card number in the request. Nowadays, will any application, government applications will accept the data without Aadhaar cards? Aadhaar card is mandate. The data which I need it, mandatory data missing in the request, then it is a bad request. Bad request means what? Whatever the data that we need to process, the data is missing, then we will consider that request as a bad request. Unauthorized means he is not our client. His security got failed. He got stopped at the security layer. request is not getting processed because he is not our client. He is not our client. Then we don't accept it. Okay, guys, all the status codes we cannot check, but some status code which I have experienced in my career I have explained. 409 also I have not experienced, guys. 403 forbidden. Forbidden, you don't have a permission to access. 403 forbidden, you don't have a permission to access. Okay? 402 payment required. You are trying to access a request, resource, you need to send the payment details. 402 clearly mentioned किया ना, payment required, अब payment करना पड़ेगा, then only you can access that. If you have done the payment, then only they will allow you to access. Good. These are the some HTTP status codes. Now next one is 405. You understand now? When you will get the 405? REST API method binded to GET request, but you are sending a POST request. Method not allowed. Whatever the method you are using to send a request, that is not allowed. Method is binded to GET, you are sending POST request. Reverse. Method is binded to POST request, you are sending a GET request. Then resource not, then method not allowed you will get. Resource not found means incorrect URL. For example, let's see here. In our REST API method, guys, I am writing some dummy logic. Integer I is equal to 10 by 0. I am dividing a number with 0. What will happen? I am dividing a number with 0. If you divide any number with 0, what will happen? Arithmetic exception. Arithmetic exception. Now, if I send a request to the server, what response will come to me? Which status code will come? I am sending a request. Run as boot app. What status code I will get? $500 code फट गया. I have sent a request. My server is failed to process my request. There is some problem in the server. There is some problem in the server. When there is a problem in the server, then we will get the status code as 500. Server error, internal server error. Code is not able to execute at the server side. The code is not able to execute at the server side. Then we will get that 500 error. Code is not able to execute at the server, then we will get that 500 error. Are you guys able to understand when you will get the 500? When we send a request to the server, if server is not able to process our request, then you will get 500 error. That is internal server error. 500, that is internal server error. Got my point? Got my point? Internal server error. Guys, these status codes you have to remember. These are important for your interview purpose. What is 200? What is 201? What is 204? What is 304? What is 500? 400? 401? 402? 3, 4, 5, 6, 9, 15. Mainly, they will ask questions from 4xx, guys. They will ask the questions on the 4xx client problems. Clients will send a request incorrectly. 400 bad request, 401 unauthorized, 402 payment required, 403 forbidden, 404 resource not found, 404 resource not found, 405 method not allowed, 406 not acceptable, 409 conflict, 415 unsupported media type.